Brand Spotlight with my very good friend, Lucy Barkas. Thank you very much for being brave
You're
enough
welcome.
to come on. Lucy is not just my friend, she is also a very brilliant leadership coach. And do you want to just introduce yourself actually, Lucy?
Yes, it might be easier. Yeah,
Very
so I
first.
am primarily a leadership and team relationship coach. And I've been doing that under my original brand of 3WH for 12, 13 years now. And I'm about to embark on a partnership with another dear friend of mine, Karen. And we've been doing the Say It Sister podcast for almost a year now. And through that, we decided actually we want to do a program just for women to really help them to untap their feminine wisdom and bring more of themselves into the workplace, and to tackle some of the taboos and the biases that go along the way. So it's a brand new brand, a brand new product offering, but it's actually old work that we've all been doing before, but it's a separate identity. Yeah.
Yeah. And bring together both of your knowledge and experience. Fantastic. And it's called Wise Women.
Wise Women Lead.
Wise Women Lead. Without further ado, because we've got 10, 12 minutes to go, I'd like you to share. So just so you all know, I've not had chance to look at any of this because the whole thing about the Brand Spotlight is what your brand is saying in an instant to anybody who's coming across it. So I've deliberately asked my guests not to share with me too much beforehand, and I'll be looking at it with fresh eyes, same as anybody else would when they saw it on LinkedIn or on a website, etc. And we're just going to talk about the impression that it gives and whether that's true to what you're trying to convey for the brand itself. And let's go with your first share. So can you talk us through this one, Lucy?
Okay. I think, is that it? Yes, so what I'm sharing with you, excuse me, now is our LinkedIn profile. Can you see it?
We can see it.
Lovely. So we set this up about a month ago and started creating some articles. And these are some of the articles. So just to show you some of the imagery that we've been using. And so we've created some imagery there, trying to sometimes be quite in your face and sometimes being quite nurturing, because that's what women are like. And trying to get images and the feel that reflects our message, really. So you're seeing different articles, different posts that are coming up here.
Cool. So fantastic. So can I just dig a little bit deeper into Wise Women Lead, and what do you feel when you talked about feel, and obviously brand is very much about a feeling, it's an emotion. We're making that heart-mind connection as well, because people buy not just with their minds but also with their hearts. So what did you feel the values were? Like we can just briefly talk about the values for Wise Women Leads.
Yeah, there's definitely grounded is one of them. Empowering, inclusive, honest, authentic, worthy and wise.
Brilliant. So you've done that really nicely then with the choice of colours that you're using, which I'm sure you're aware of, but that lovely soft green does feel very nurturing. If you can scroll through some more of the images as I'm talking, that would be great.
Yeah.
Just on that feed is great. So you've used this lovely soft, if you can go further up, because I think there were some other colours as well in play further up. So now you've used like earthy, and then you've used some pictures from nature. What that video of you actually seems to be in a different green. So one thing I would suggest is keeping a consistency. I don't know if that teal colour is in the brand palette, but it didn't look apparent anywhere else. So just be mindful, especially as you're launching a new brand. Consistency is going to be key to build recognition. Did you work with clearly another brand designer? Did you work with a brand designer, or is it something that you pulled together yourself?
No, it's something that both of us have brought together ourselves.
Wow.
So we've got a colour palette that is all neutrally sages, greens, and there's some almost like dusky pinks that we're going to use more on the Instagram side. Okay. And then LinkedIn, stick with the greens. This one that you see in there is an accent colour, and I can see what you mean. As I'm scrolling through, I can totally see that it just doesn't fit with the rest of it. Yeah. So totally see that.
And keep going. So I really like the soft green palette that you've chosen. I'm interested about the pink, but we'll talk about that later. A lovely picture of you there, Lucy.
Yeah, so we had a load of images that were created for the launch. And if I go onto our brand kit, you'll be able to see some of the different themes that we were bringing through. So where it's about us being power and in our presence, we've gone just for the plain black and white. Yeah, so this is when we're trying to talk about something powerful that we want to show up in our power and our presence. Then we've got the ones which are softer. So we're wearing more natural style fabrics and our hair's a bit more natural, and we've got the flowers there. And then we've got some where it's just us owning it. So again, it's a bit more flowy, a bit more having fun. And then we've got one that is about joining the dots, so generational leadership. And so we've got the ones with our children. And again, trying to keep with a consistent colour palette, because we didn't want all the bright colours. We wanted the message to do the speaking. So it's either, it was more muted blacks, whites, creams. So we fade into the background.
I absolutely saw that you've got a monochrome palette there for your outfits, and it's great that you have coordinated with each other, so you look like a team, you look like a set. One thing that I would say though is, as you're using these images in isolation, like you did on that LinkedIn post where it was just an image of you, again, it's about brand consistency. So is there a way of building your brand colors into it with maybe a graphic over the top with some text, for example? You might have a little box saying something, or it could be a quote from one of you, or something about the article, just to bring that brand color in. Because again, as it's scrolling, you need to just keep making that link back to the brand that you're launching. So if you go back to LinkedIn,
here we go. Yeah, and to be fair, this is what I was trying to hopefully do with some of these more images here. So our image would be here, and I think I might have done that in another one.
Sharing anything?
Oh, is it not sharing?
No.
Let me just go back and just check. Yeah, it's because I came out of Canva. Bear with me.
We can't do a live without a tech issue. This is just...
No, of course.
Obviously, this is real life, everyone.
So yeah, this one was a shared article, that's why that was there. But what I'm hoping to do is use, if I should go down a little bit more, so you can see here where it's got us in those images. I've tried to fade it so it becomes a bit more neutral, and then still use that brand. So that's what I was hoping to get your advice on. Does it work?
So what you can do, yes, it does. Although I would say on that image in particular, I can't see your faces.
No,
that's good. I would actually crop in bigger, like to make your faces bigger off that shot, and actually just zoom right in that crop. However, if you look at that quote there, when wise women rise, we bring others with us. If you took that as a circle graphic and then scroll scroll back up to the picture of you, and you can add that to any image, but you could add that on there, say, as a graphic, and it could have anything. It could be learn more about Lucy, or it could be a wise quote from you. But then you can start seeding your brand color into everything that you, and that's really important. In terms of your choice of fonts, let's have a look at that. So let's go back up to the top, please.
There's one of them.
Yeah. So do you know what font that is?
Parmigiano Caption.
Oh,
so it's a Canva one.
Sounds very tasty.
Yes.
So it's a lovely choice of font if that's your main brand font. And I would say that's probably a title font, not one that you're using for copy.
Yeah, we've got Muli, MULI, as our standard.
Which is a sans serif, I'm guessing, just a normal sans serif font, which is best for legibility. So you've done it the right way round, and you can use slightly fancier fonts for your tab. There's nothing stopping you using a serif font like this for copy, but certainly online, most copy fonts tend to be sans serif because they're easier to read and they reproduce better at smaller sizes. However, you can add some personality, which you've done here with this serif font, which is elegant, it is feminine, it's not too heavy, but it is still quite strong. It's not too light and too thin, and it's easy to read, which is really good as well. So you've done tick tick, you've done really well on that. And in terms of the energy of it, what you've done there is you've gone upper and lower case. or sentence case. You've not gone for all caps. And part of that is, again, it feels more feminine. So if you're trying to create a more masculine brand, you may want to go all caps on something and bold. And that can feel a little bit shouty for a more feminine brand, but it's how you play with it. Also, if you have a heavier font, it can look more masculine. Or if you go for a finer font, it can look more feminine. And yours is not too fine a font, but it is quite elegant. And those serifs, which if nobody knows what a serif is, it's those little feet at the end of the letters. If you look at the bottom of the N and I, they've got these little feet. That's actually something that does add a bit of elegance to a font, and it makes it look learned. It makes it look more bookish. It is like the original fonts were all serif. Do you know where the serifs came from, Lucy?
No, I've just learned that fact from you. Yeah, tell me more.
Okay. Sans serif is obviously French for without serifs, and that's the straighter edged, which you'll see for the copy for LinkedIn and things like that. But serifs actually started right the way back from Roman days, where people used to use a chisel to carve into rocks, and they put the little serif in first to stop the rock cracking below the letter.
Wow.
I know, right?
I love facts like that.
I'm full of all of those. People, if you enjoyed that one, keep watching, because I am a complete typography geek. So yeah, so serif fonts are really good for people who want to look like intelligent and more learned, and have got, maybe sometimes brands will use it for tradition and sometimes brands will use it for history. But you've got the modernity in there with the light font and the sort of weight that you've used it in as well, and the colors. So it's the colors and the imagery together. I'm loving the ghosted image there you've got of women in the background as well. So if you can just zoom out a little bit so we can see that, or scroll so we can see that a little bit more. And I'm aware we've got just a couple more minutes. So is there anything more? So they're really nice. What's really nice about the silhouettes is that it could almost be any woman. So
that was the goal. Like I said, we wanted to be inclusive. So it's like we don't, because we are both middle-aged white women, but that's not our target audience. All women are. So that we did that intentionally.
Brilliant.
And so I do have a question.
Yes.
Before we sign off, we've got our standardized website, which again using all the same kind of colors and things like that. Would you recommend us using the same fonts that we use on our, using the Parmigiano there?
Yes, absolutely. Wise, balanced and feminine. It just looks very lackluster with the font that you've got
that's
there.
what I thought. Yeah.
So consistency on every platform that you show up. Try and use the same fonts, the same colors. Very quickly about your using pink on Insta. I was a little concerned about that, again, because you're establishing a new brand. What was your thinking between doing two separate colors on two different platforms?
Interestingly, let me just go back in here. Have I stopped sharing? Yes. So interestingly, I did a load of caption images with quotes and things like that. And I did it in quite a few different ones of our color palette, so that each time it would inject. And Karen and I, my partner, were having conversations about, should we have a different identity on Instagram and maybe use more of the lilacs and the muted pinks, and then have a different one on Instagram? But what I'm hearing from you is actually consistency. Just use the same ones.
Absolutely. If you want to seed the pink in there, use it in a little bit on LinkedIn, and then maybe switch the balance up so it's more pink on Instagram, but still use your sage greens. So you're still linking the brands, but it may have a bit more of a lifestyle-y feel maybe on Instagram and a slightly more businessy feel on LinkedIn. But do keep the same palette. Don't add too many colours to the palette as well. I've built a whole brand just on red, black and white, and Coca-Cola's just done it with red and white. So the fewer colours will give you like less decision overwhelm, but also keep that consistency across platforms wherever you show up, because you don't know where people are coming into your world. Has that been helpful?
Really helpful. I knew it would be, which is why I put my hand up. Thank you.
Thank you. If you want to continue the conversation with me anytime, Lucy, feel free to hit me up. But thank you very much for being my very first brand spotlight.
Well done.
Thank you. Bye-bye.